So the first team we're going to look at is the CSK. 10 minutes on the clock. Stu, over to you.
Geez, in your intro, you said CSK might not have been the better side. I think some CSK fans that are listening to this might have some question marks. Obviously, defending champions, Mahendra Singh Dhoni at the time, lifting the trophy, and we kind of went, is this the fairy tale finish that a player like him might walk away on? And it certainly wasn't. He's decided to come back for another year, which is very exciting kind of for the narrative, but also, you know, when you see a great player, it's kind of great to see them continue. And obviously he contributed in a lot of ways last year. Obviously, you know, we always talk about the leadership and stuff that he does, but he suddenly, you know, built up these giant arms and started smashing sixes everywhere. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he can do. From a squad news perspective for CSK, they had quite a busy auction, really. They jumped on all the Kiwi contingent in getting Rachin, Ravindra, and then Daryl Mitchell, who, from a New Zealand point of view, we thought the money for those two might flip the other way. We thought Ravindra might be the one who, fresh off the World Cup, might get this giant monetary offer. So he, you know, relatively, I guess, went probably quite cheaply. Daryl Mitchell was where the auction just took off, and he comes in with the big money. And they also ended up picking Shardul Thakur, Mustafiza Rahim, and actually splashed the cash on a young guy called Samir Rizvi, who, you know, we might not know a lot about, 20 years old, you know, only 9 domestic T20 innings. I kind of did my usual, watched a few social media clips of him sitting in sixes, and he looks like he can play after that very limited analysis. But, you know, his recent run of scores with Uttar Pradesh are not that great. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, what role he plays. But yeah, a very busy side auction for them, and a few players that they picked up that I think will come into the side.
And Stu, where are they going to go well? You've mentioned a lot of players. I'm guessing we're going to have no surprises. You're going to talk a little bit about New Zealand cricketers now. But look, jokes aside, where is their strength? I mean, obviously they won the tournament last year, but what's going to potentially see them lift the trophy again this time round?
Well, I do think that, yeah, one of the main things I put down was that they're a largely settled side from that winning side. So they, you know, obviously did add some players, but if you look back at the final, it was Gaikwad, Conway, Dubey, Rahane, Rayudu, Dhoni, Jadeja, Moeen Ali, Deepak Chahar, Tushar Deshpande, Deekshana, and Patirana. And the bulk of that side is all together. Ambati Rayudu is retired, and Devon Conway is injured, but you know they have replaced him with Rachin Ravindra or Daryl Mitchell. We might talk a little bit about that, but I do think that the settled side, the leadership that comes from MS Dhoni and from Stephen Fleming, you know, he's sort of, from a New Zealand point of view, the guy we love to think of as a real cricket brain. So I think that gives them a real strength. And the way, you know, even just running through those sides, they build their side around a lot of all-rounders, guys that can do a lot of different things. And even when you look through their squad, it means that they can go through and sort of pick and choose who they might want to play in all of the different games and give different roles to people. You know, I named that side. Moeen Ali's batting at 8, I think, in that final side. He's someone who at times has batted 3 or various different things. And they've got that in there. A lot of their overseas players can play a number of roles.
Baldy, I'm going to maybe just hand over and get your thoughts on Chennai, because I know from a preparation perspective, look, I've got printed out shit, which is really, really rare for me, but I look over at your iPad. Other tablets are available. I looked through and you've got every side in the IPL here in terms of what you think their starting 11 is going to be, but maybe not going through all of that. But
sure.
Where are the key points for you with the CSK and why they might win or why they might struggle?
I think Stu's hit the nail on the head in terms of they've got so much flexibility in the way that they can set up their sides, because you've got a guy like Jadeja who can bat 4 or 5 even in that T20 lineup. You've got a guy like Dhoni who can bat as low as number 8 and still be effective. Like, they can give opposition so many different looks over the course of the tournament. I thought Mustafiza is a great buy for them because he gives them something that they didn't already have in terms of the way that they can structure their bowling. Yeah. It will be interesting to see what the order of those all-rounders are. You mentioned Dubey, you mentioned Jadeja, there's Thakur's there as well, like this, and Mo Ali. There's so many different local all-rounders that it means they can play around with the who do you play of the Daryl Mitchell, the Conway, Ravindra, Mo Ali, even Santner. So they've got so many different looks that they can throw at oppositions, and it's going to be a next man up mentality because any one of those guys could form part of their sort of batting or bowling lineup.
Can I selfishly bring it back to New Zealand?
You can.
Two questions really. So I guess, with Conway going, I'll ask you, Stu, with Conway not being able to make it, does that make them a little bit lighter on the batting than they wanted to be? I'm sure he was going to have a big part. And then following that up, does that mean that Daryl Mitchell and Rachin Ravindra could actually have quite massive roles in this lineup?
We list our concerns, and the concern was, can they replace Conway's contributions at the top of the order for me? Because, even last 2 seasons, but even just looking at last season, he averaged 50 last season, striking at 140. And, his partnership with Gaikwad, it basically set the platform for them to do whatever they wanted. You run through the rest of their lineups and their averages, and you had guys like Rahane who kind of just came off and came back to life. But like the likes of Dubé and Rayadu, who, Rayadu in particular had very sort of low average, but he was able to come in and hit like 20 off 8 balls or something like he did in the final and really make a contribution. And that was all because those other 2 guys were able to set that up. So no Conway makes a massive difference. And I think what it does, though, is it'll be really interesting to see how much. I mean, I would expect Daryl Mitchell comes in. I would be disappointed from how they could use him if they try and replace Conway with Mitchell in terms of putting him at the top of the order. I know New Zealand have done that in the past, put him at the top of the order. I think he's a much better player batting at 4 or 5, where he can come in, really utilise the ability against spin that he has to come in and, try and dominate those spinners, which is such a, going to be such a key part of how teams build up. But I think that might mean that Rachin Ravindra opens, and then, maybe Mitchell comes in and bats where Rayadu batted, and in that 4-5 sort of range. And, then it means you've only got kind of 2 spots for your other overseas. And in the past, that's been the 2 Sri Lankans, Patirana and Thikshana. So I think they've got a few things to figure out, but potentially some very important roles for New Zealand.
When they splashed the cash in that auction, they obviously did it thinking Conway was going to play. So this obviously changes a lot there. I've got one question for you, Binksy.
Yeah.
Your affinity for older wicket keepers.
Yeah.
What impact do you think MS Dhoni is going to have? And don't tell me about leadership. I want to know what he's going to do on the field this year.
Yeah, and look, that's the question. I think we alluded to his guns, and he played a bit of a different role, didn't he? Last year, he did. I wouldn't say hide himself down the order, but he picked the opportunities for himself to come in and really put the icing on the cake of a number of innings.
It's a really good way to put it. Yeah,
it was we want someone to come in and score 20 off 6 balls, rather than someone that's going to score 40 off 20 or 60 off 30. So I think he's maybe just looking at what's on his. To use a Tesla reference, I guess what his battery life is, and where he can get to. So I think we'll see that. And look, I still think we'll see one of the better wicket keepers in the tournament, because I think if we look across a number of the other teams, yes, they'll have some decent keepers in Saha, maybe Dural, who we'll come on to talk about, maybe a bit of KS Bharat. But ultimately, a lot of teams pick someone who owns a pair of gloves. So I think it'll be nice to see Dhoni.
And I don't think there's anyone better if you needed to chase big runs in a difficult run chase. He's the guy that you want out there because he chases beautifully.
We've got about a minute to go. So any concerns for Chennai, and then I guess where are we getting to with the prediction as to whether or not they might lift the trophy against you?
The only other concern I had down was the 2 Sri Lankan players that they, picked last year, and Patirana and Thikshana. I think they've had very mixed past 6 months. Particularly Patirana kind of fell away out of that World Cup squad and then was out injured. I know it's a different format in ODIs. Thikshana, I think, has only taken 3 wickets from his past 10 international games. So, they were real key cogs in their lineup last year. If they're not going to produce the same output, then, where does that leave CSK and in what they sort of do? Maybe in a way it might, bring Moeen Ali and he has to bowl a bit more and suddenly their batting's a bit better. Who knows? But, that'll be something I'll certainly be monitoring throughout. in terms of a prediction, I still think they'll make the top 4. Raj and I off the air were talking about there's a lot of sides that feel like they're very similar this year, and kind of for me it goes sort of 2 to about 7. I could probably put anywhere in the lineup. I just think that the leadership, all of the positive things that go with CSK, the fact that they won the competition last year, I think that they'll still make it, but I'm a lot less confident about them without Conway there to anchor that innings.
Awesome. The bookmakers have them as second favourites. So Mumbai Indians at 4-1. Other bookmakers are available, but we'll just go with the Bet365 odds to keep it consistent throughout the course of this preview. So Chennai Kings paying you 5-1. And we will leave the preview of the Chennai Super Kings here, and we'll move on to our next team.